Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here for my final video of the day. I know, it's sad, isn't it? You're not sad, you're happy. Well, everything's good in small doses, isn't it? Anyway, shall we get down to the video? Past hour, some of my sources are telling me that Jim Lee wants Zack Snyder to direct Man of Steel 2. I did say to you that there'll be a big announcement about Man of Steel 2 and the Snyder Cut this year, but this is massive. Don't forget, Jim Lee has had for the past few months Jeff Johns' old job, so he's got a very prominent piece of responsibility within the DCEU. Now, I don't know how long this position is going to last, but it's very interesting. Jim Lee has been with DC for many, many years. He's a very talented artist. He's an iconic, legendary artist. And this is what he recently had to say about Zack Snyder. When asked, what advice do you have for Zack Snyder? Zack is a comic book fan and draws inspirations from the comics. He doesn't need to be given advice. He's a talented filmmaker. He's a super stylized visualist. He'll do stuffs. He'll do stuffs no one has ever done with the Caped Crusader and blow everyone away. He blew everyone away. He knows how to take the sensibility of comic books and do what other filmmakers don't know how to do. Now, this is spot on as far as I'm concerned. Visually, Zack Snyder is absolutely fantastic. And I think it's very evident with what we've seen with James Wan's Aquaman, that kind of stylized, visualized kind of film, that kind of thing from the DCU is going to continue. And it does look like that Zack Snyder will be brought back into the fold. I think that Warner Brothers truly regret what happened with Justice League. And I am hearing that he would direct a Man of Steel 2. He would not write it, though. I'm hearing the agreement that Zack's made with Warner Brothers is purely on a directorial basis, and where he does really kind of work as a partnership with the writers of said film. I've heard that his first job will be editing the Snyder Cut. His second job will be directing Man of Steel 2. So this is very exciting. Now, I do trust this source, but as I always say, be careful. We never know. Everything's got to be taken with a pinch of salt. But of course, let's be excited. Let's put our doubts to one side and let's think what this could mean. A Man of Steel 2 directed by Zack Snyder. Who would have thought? Everything within the DCEU has gone full circle. And as I said at the top of the show, Jim Lee has got a lot of power within the DCEU. As I say, he's a very experienced member of the DC family. So they're going to listen to him. I think it's important at least that Zack directs certain films within the DCEU and is able to advise other directors how to give that special visualization kind of that the DCEU has had since Man of Steel. We don't want to become visually like the MCU, because the MCU isn't very special visually. It doesn't look anything special. It just looks like every other film. Now, yes, the MCU's VFX is fantastic, but visually, the MCU doesn't look as comic booky as the DCEU. So I certainly don't want to lose that. And what we've seen from Aquaman, and a lot of people are saying this to me as well, is we're keeping that, the way it looks. We're still keeping that. And that's thanks to Zack Snyder. He started it all off with Man of Steel. So what does a Man of Steel 2 directed by Zack Snyder look like? What kind of story are they going for? Will they continue from the first Man of Steel? Will they do a totally new, unrelated story? Well, so much water has gone under the bridge. We've had Batman v Superman. We've had Justice League. We've had a turnaround in the direction of the DCEU, thanks to Walter Hamada. So basically, he'll be working under new people, no longer with Christopher Nolan and with the people who were originally there. So this will be very interesting for Zack Snyder. The DCEU and Superman needs him, as far as I'm concerned. So if this is true, these are going to be very exciting times. And 2019 could be the year of Superman.